An iconic Arlington event celebrates its 10th anniversary, but not the way they expected. Some people will get to the polls this year on a pair of borrowed wheels. And are you ready for some real Halloween chills? That and more up next.
From McLennan Park to Spy Pond, from Poets Corner to the Mystic River, we have Arlington covered. We're your neighbors, a friend you can turn to. This is ACMi News.
Hello and welcome to ACMi News. I'm Paul Werlin, and it really feels great to be back here in the studio with you all again. As you can see, I'm here all alone at the anchor desk due to the safety precautions we're all following here at ACMi. A big thanks to the ACMi News team for all their hard work creating these stories each week. So let's get started. The Arlington International Film Festival hits its 10th anniversary this week, featuring films produced by hundreds of filmmakers from all over the world, including short films produced by Arlington youth. ACMi's Anim Osmani spoke with the festival's executive director, April Rank, to talk about what's different this year.
Rather than rolling down the red carpet at the Capitol Theater with some music and performances, this year's festival will be held online.
It has been a challenge, and no, this is not how we expected to celebrate the 10th annual anniversary of the festival. We had envisioned a nice big kickoff at Town Hall with music and dancers and film. We had a huge celebration planned, and then a red carpet at the Capitol Theater for our filmmakers that would be coming in. The biggest challenge has been when and how to take the festival online, and we made a very early decision. It was March 1st that we actually decided to take the festival online, and we said that with the lack of information about the virus, we felt as though we really couldn't ask our audience members to come into a theater and open themselves to infection. So we started, we had already been approached way early back in 2019 by platforms, streaming platforms. Little did we think that we would need their services. So a relationship had already been opened in December, and March 1, we made that call and we moved into action.
All films will be streamed online. This year's festival will feature around 117 films, including all of the shorts from their high school program. With all of the changes made to this year's operations, you can still expect a high school award ceremony. The AIFF also tried its best to stimulate a live audience atmosphere.
So Alberto suggested to the filmmakers for them to make an introduction. So most of our films are going to have a short intro by the filmmaker, explaining the project and talking to the audience. And that's as close as we can come to simulating an in-person experience this year.
April Rank also reveals the predominant themes we can expect to see in this year's festival.
I think we're all played out with politics. Pretty much all of us are anxious and nervous about this upcoming election, and we certainly do have films that address the political situation, both here and abroad. But we also have films that give a lift to the human spirit. We always say that the film festival is much more than just films. We're a celebration of the arts.
I also spoke with one filmmaker to hear how she feels about the festival going online.
This is my first feature documentary, and I've been working on it for 4 years now. And I was really looking forward to going to film festivals this year. I mean, that's the dream that you have, you know, that you get to show your film in front of an audience all over the country with small groups of people and be in the room with them. And so when I initially found out, I was very disappointed and heartbroken. But the upside of it is that, you know, anyone can watch these films now, and it's open to a much larger audience. And so that's the part that I'm trying to focus on.
The Arlington International Film Festival will be streaming for 10 consecutive days starting on November 5th. Tickets are now on sale on the website. Single tickets are selling at $12, 6 film tickets are selling at $45, and to view all films costs only $85. For more information, you could go on their website at aiffest.org. For ACMi News, I'm Anim Osmani.
Thank you, Anim, and best of luck to AIFF. Arlington police officer Brandon Wentz received a life-saving ribbon for saving an elderly woman after a devastating storm caused a tree to fall on her home. Here is more from ACMi News reporter Kristen Beaulieu on the story.
It was the Arlington Fire Department that first drew attention to a heroic act performed by police officer Brandon Wentz. Responding to an emergency call, Officer Wentz arrived before the fire department to find an elderly woman trapped in her home, which was in danger of collapsing after being struck by a fallen tree. When the Arlington Police Department learned of Wentz's brave response, it was a natural choice to award him the department's life-saving ribbon.
The other responding officer did arrive moments before the fire department got there, and there's sometimes just no time to waste, and he recognized what he needed to do, and he did that. But he didn't waste any time. Went into a real dangerous situation, and did the right thing. It can't always be about discipline and following rules. You have to recognize people for good work, and we've known that for some time, and I think we do a fabulous job with it.
It was an extremely windy evening when Officer Wentz responded to an emergency call at this location off of Hodge Road. But it wasn't until he kicked in the door, heard the wood cracking from above, when he realized time was not on his side.
I think after I kicked the door in, went inside, and then the sound of breaking wood above your head, you kind of have tunnel vision when you're doing that, and you get a split second to think to yourself like, you might not come out, so I just had to get her out immediately. We always meet people on their worst day, if it's a victim or it's someone who's committed a crime, they're having it's probably one of the worst days they're having, and sometimes when you can put yourself in their shoes, help them out a little bit, provide them with the proper services that we have the ability to provide at the end of the day. If you can make a difference, it keeps you showing up the next day.
Officer Wentz says that the positive feedback he has received from the community has made him feel appreciated. The ribbon recognizes a life-saving action from an officer, and according to Captain Flynn, what could be more important than that? More positive stories of recognition can be found on the APD Facebook page and website. And ACMi News is always on the lookout for stories that inspire. Reporting, I'm Kristen Beaulieu.
Thank you, Kristen. It's been several months, but the project to renovate the sidewalks in Arlington Center has finally been completed. Michael Rademacher, the Director of Public Works, walked correspondent In Young Kim through the changes.
After more than 3 months, a major sidewalk renovation in the center of town was completed last Friday. According to the town, the brick sidewalks were installed in the 70s, and over time erosion from frost heaves and severe weather had made the surfaces uncomfortable or even unsafe for walking. In July, the Alessandro Corporation began the renovation work, which included replacing the brick with concrete and improving the area lighting as well. Michael Rademacher, Arlington's Director of Public Works, joined me to explain further.
The main reason was to replace older, aging, and failing sidewalk surfaces. The project limits were from Pleasant Street and Mystic Street to Franklin Street along Mass Ave, as well as along Broadway. It was difficult to maintain, and as a result, it was creating a difficult walking surface for many people. And so we developed a program, a project to replace those sidewalks with concrete. In addition to the sidewalks, I should say, though, we also worked to rehabilitate the existing lighting along the street as well. So those lights had been neglected for some time. And so now, not only will the sidewalk surfaces be in better condition, but they'll be better lit as well during the evening.
In planning the project, the town also took into consideration residents' enthusiasm for the look of bricks as a design element.
We didn't want to just put all concrete down and give it no character whatsoever. So we tried something new here where we put a decorative border along the edge of the sidewalk that's also made out of concrete, but we dyed it red and used a stamp to try to mimic the appearance of brick.
Lastly, the DPW director had a message for Arlington residents and businesses that have put up with months of disruption in the center of town.
I appreciate their patience while we went through this, and now that the product is done, hopefully we can all enjoy it.
Thanks to the town's efforts and residents' patience, the sidewalk have received a facelift that makes them safer than before and just as pretty. For ACMi, I'm Young Kim.
Not sure how you'll be getting to the polls this Tuesday? Blue Bikes have you covered with a free ride on Election Day. ACMi's Isabel Litters talked to Arlington's town clerk Julie Brazil and senior transportation planner Daniel Amstutz about how Blue Bikes are helping to make voting more accessible for Arlingtonians.
This Election Day, Blue Cross Blue Shield is providing Arlington residents with free Blue Bike rides to the polls in order to promote a pandemic-friendly way to get to the voting booth.
Arlington Town Clerk Julie Brazil shared her thoughts on the creative effort to get more people to the polls this year.
Any option that gets you to the polls without, sort of being in the confined space of a car seems better to me. I think it's one of the things that makes me proud to live in Massachusetts and in Arlington. We all come together, we try to solve the problems. Our whole mission right now is getting everyone to vote. Vote by mail, vote in person, and having more options is always better. So I think it's just a great service.
Julie also talked about the logistics of parking your Blue Bike at Town Hall.
There is some bike parking in the parking lot on Academy Street, which is near the entrance. So that would probably be the easiest place to do it.
Senior Transportation Planner with Arlington's Department of Planning and Community Development, Daniel Amstutz, talked about the process of renting a Blue Bike.
It's a project that's supported through the Blue Cross Blue Shield company, which is their title sponsor. And so if you have the mobile app, you can get what they call an adventure pass. You can get access to the Blue Bikes for 24 hours for up to 2 hours per ride.
Amstutz also expressed his strong support for social distanced options for getting to the voting booth.
Biking is a good socially distant activity that people can do if they're not comfortable like riding public transportation. I think it's a really good one to help people more easily get to the polls on election day so that they can vote.
If you're interested in taking a Blue Bike to the polls, you can go to bluebikes.com/map to find out where your nearest Blue Bike location is. For ACMi News, I'm Isabel Litters.
On Thursday, October 29th, the Old Schab Mill joined with a prominent local historian to return to 1970, virtually of course, to look at some pivotal events that continue to influence what we see and experience today. Anim Osmani has the story.
Experiencing nostalgia lately? Yes? No? The Old Schab Mill will be celebrating its 50th anniversary this week as Richard Duffy takes us a half a century back.
The Schab Mill is celebrating its 50th anniversary this year. It started back in 1969, but papers were not passed until January of 1970. So this indeed is the point where the Schab Mill went from being a working commercial frame manufacturer to a living museum where frames continue to be made. And as a matter of fact, as I speak to you now, I'm delaying our master turner from getting to work on a very important commission because it remains a very important part of the work we do here, but also more broadly interpreting the mill history in Arlington.
Arlington had many water-powered mills back in 1637 and throughout town history, but it's not often that you have the opportunity to actually put yourself in the past. The Old Schab Mill officially became a museum in 1970 through the work of Patricia Fitzmaurice and some of her companions. The idea was to celebrate her accomplishments through a robust series of programs touching on culture, music, art, and history. But of course, that was not to be.
Obviously, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, those types of activities had to stop. Enter the opportunities presented through ACMi and just plain old homemade Zoom meetings. And we've been able to continue to connect to audiences and continue to tell the story. So we don't have to let the year 2020 end without relating what Arlington was all about 50 years ago. So it's not going to be a nostalgia trip. 1970 was a very, very challenging year for Arlington. I would say perhaps one of the most challenging years of the 20th century. And that just emphasizes again how remarkable it was that despite all of those challenges, saving the Schab Mill came to be.
In Richard Duffy's lecture, he presented a lot of fun facts about what went on in Arlington 50 years ago and how it is still affecting us today. To learn more about Arlington in the 1970s, you can watch the full event on our channels or watch it on demand on acmi.tv. For ACMi News, I'm Aneem Osmani.
Thanks, Aneem. Now let's check in with our high school producers for this week's Ponder Scope and Sports Update.
Hello, and welcome back to this week's edition of the Ponder Scope, your Arlington High School news, updates, and more. On Wednesday, November 4th, from the start of advisory to 12:45, AHS students will partake in this year's virtual club day. This school-wide event is a great opportunity to learn more about clubs from your peers, attend club meetings, and sign up for more information. Despite the pandemic, there are many clubs that are up and running and looking for your involvement. For more information about Club Day and more information about clubs in general, be sure to contact all club leader Ms. Began at jbegan@arlington.k12.ma.us. On Thursday, November 5th from 5 to 6 p.m., the Robbins Library will be holding a virtual event to all those considering the gap year option amidst the pandemic. Join gap year expert Jane Saruin to learn about the current gap year landscape, program adaptations, and strategies of identifying effective goals and planning out your gap year future. Pre-registration is required for access to the Zoom link. Learn more and register using the link attached below. AHS social worker Andrea Rossi and her team are actively looking for more student involvement in the planning of this year's Wellness Month activities. From in-person events to virtual events, the planning team wants feedback and your ideas about what you will think will make this year's wellness activities most fulfilling, caring, and fun for everyone involved. If you have any ideas or suggestions, or would like to get involved on the team, make sure to contact Miss Rossi at arossi@arlington.k12.ma.us. Want to be on the TV show? Want a fun, easy, and exciting way of making online content for and about your peers? Well, this is your chance. UView, the show dedicated to all things Arlington youth, is looking to continue to build up an already growing team. On UView, we laugh about some things, we learn about others, and we work together to create something that will make you proud to be an Arlington kid. Anyone, regardless of experience, is encouraged to get involved right away. If you're interested and would like more information, then be sure to contact me, Sam Derringer, at sam@acmi.tv. And finally, once again, on behalf of everyone here at ACMi, we encourage all those that are eligible and able to cast their vote and make their voices heard in the upcoming general election. As my fellow anchor Chandler Betts so eloquently said, voting is a privilege that not all of us get to enjoy. So take advantage of this privilege and vote for the world in which you want to live. That's all for this week's edition of the Ponder Scope. From my home to yours, I'm Sam Derringer. Now, sending it over to Nick for this week's sports update.
How's it going, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the ACMi Sports Update. We have a lot of action to cover as the fall season is nearing its midpoint. Let's start out with the boys varsity soccer squad, who are at home this week against last year's division champs, the Winchester Sachems. The Spy Ponders played their best game of the year so far. Senior forward Toby Ritzkowski turned his hopes into reality by netting both goals for the Spy Ponders in their 2-0 win.
There's a shot!
Ryan O'Rourke in front. Now we move on to the girls varsity soccer squad who were on the road this past weekend against Winchester. The Spy Ponders came into the match undefeated, but unfortunately, they took their first loss of the year as the Sachems won 2-1. Field hockey also faced off against Winchester this week, but they took a tough 6-0 loss in a hard-fought battle. With last week's action covered, there's a lot to look forward to this upcoming week with our Spy Ponders' upcoming matchups. We have a Halloween packed with sports this year, as field hockey is at home against Winchester at 1 p.m. Girls soccer returns to Pierce Field as well, as they look to get revenge on Winchester at 9 a.m. The game will be broadcasted live on ACMi's education channel and at ACMi Sports on YouTube. Last but not least, boys soccer heads to Winchester this weekend for an early morning matchup at 9 a.m. And I will be there to call the action for WinCam. Stream the game live at wincam.org. And that's all for this week's edition of the Sports Update. Make sure to check back next week to see where our Spy Ponders stand in the race for the division title. From ACMi Sports, my name is Nick Antonakis.
It's time now for Sydney's Media Moment. She's really been milking the build-up to Halloween and follows last week's guide to spooky TV by introducing some movies that have genuinely scared her. And I've heard she doesn't scare easily.
Hello Arlington, my name is Sydney Burritt and I welcome you to Sydney's Media Moment. Now I couldn't be more happy because tomorrow is Halloween. I of course dressed up for the occasion as a low-rate Rocky Balboa, and I'm going to be giving you some movies that will actually scare you this Halloween. I've broken them down into 3 categories because I don't really get scared anymore, so movies that made me a little uncomfortable, movies that made me cringe, and movies that I was really scared of as a kid. Let's start with movies that made me a little bit uncomfortable, shall we? I'm going to kick us off with Ari Aster's 2018 film, Hereditary. Now, this film was a big deal when it came out. It really made waves because it was super artful and just a very deep story, but it was also really twisted and it creeped a lot of people out. It's a psychological horror film about a family that delves deep into their ancestry and finds a lot of disturbing stuff. I really enjoyed the movie, if not for the plot, then for the incredible acting of Toni Collette and Alex Wolff. The movie didn't scare me, but it made me feel something, so check it out on Amazon Prime.
I just don't want to put any more stress on my family.
The next film is the 1999 horror film, The Blair Witch Project. This movie was a massive hit when it came out. Everyone was talking about it and everyone was going to see it. And with a budget of $60,000 and a box office of $200 million, it was a massive hit financially as well. The movie follows a group of film students who go into the woods in the search of the legendary Blair Witch, but the only thing to survive their expedition is their footage. It's a slow-burned, found footage film that gave me the heebie-jeebies back in high school. I recommend you check out this beloved horror film and none of the sequels, because they're garbage. You can rent it on Amazon Video.
Hello? Hello?
Next, movies that made me cringe. Now, my first job when I was 12 years old was cleaning surgical equipment in a vet's office where I would also watch the surgeries, so I don't get grossed out by gore easily. But every movie in the Saw series has at least one scene that just makes me cringe. These films are a part of the torture genre of horror, so it's sort of a niche market, but it's gotten pretty popular. The story basically follows this dude named Jigsaw who finds people he thinks are bad and puts them in deadly traps, and they have to get out of them in order to survive. They're good movies for a night when you just want to sit with your friends and be grossed out or horrified by the mind of James Wan. But if that's not your thing and you're looking for something with a little bit more substance, I would say this film series is not for you. That being said, if you can handle it, the series has 7 movies and 1 spin-off with another on the way, and they can all be found on Amazon Video.
Hello, Amanda. I want to play a game.
And finally, let's name some movies that scared me as a kid. I'm going to start out with Paranormal Activity from 2007. This movie was a hit when it came out, and I didn't see it because I was 7, but I did see the trailers, and they scared me so much I had to turn off the TV when they'd come on. I've since seen the movie and all the sequels, don't bother, but I'll say that the first one is definitely a fun movie that changed the game for ghost movies. If you're afraid of the things that you can't see, you should watch this movie on Halloween night, because it'll terrify you. You can find it on Hulu with the Showtime expansion, or you can rent it on Amazon. The final movie I'm going to talk about is Sinister. This movie scared me way too much when I was a kid. I distinctly remember having to turn away from the screen because there was a kid coming out of a box, and I didn't like that. The film has creepy demons and creepy children, so it's got it all. It's got a really interesting, intricate story too, with twists and turns, so I won't say any more because I don't want to spoil anything. But I definitely recommend you check it out. It's on Netflix, and it makes for a great Halloween night movie. And that's it for this, the final spooky segment of 2020. I hope you have an amazing Halloween in quarantine. I know I'll be binging scary movies and eating treats. So happy Halloween from me, the knockoff Sylvester Stallone.
Thanks to Sydney Britt for bringing us once again a great entertaining segment. I'd like to thank the rest of the ACMi News team. Senior news producer Anim Mosmani and segment producers Kristen Beaulieu, Isabel Litterst, Inyan Kim, our fearless editor Jared Sweet, and our news director James Bland. And thank you all for tuning into this week's newscast. You can find more great content on our website at acmi.tv, and remember to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Have a safe Halloween and every day thereafter. For ACMi News, I'm Paul Werlin. Thanks for joining us.
You can always check out our latest segments and newscasts on the web at acmi.tv/news. And don't forget to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter and Instagram at ACMi News. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. You'll find us at youtube.com/ACMi News. If you have any news tips for us or wish to become a citizen journalist, we'd love to hear from you. Email us at news@acmi.tv or stop by ACMI Studio A at 85 Park Avenue.